Hi, and welcome to Your Schools. I'm your host, Lynne Turner Fitzgerald. Joining me today is Chef Bill Jensen. He is the chief instructor at Cafe Protege at Billings Public Schools. I didn't know there was a Cafe Protege.
Yes.
Okay, what's that?
It's a culinary arts program for juniors and seniors for the Career Center, Billings
Okay.
Career Center. Yep.
Now, you are currently holding class at the Lincoln Center.
Correct.
Most of the time.
Yes, we're here all the time now, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So how long have you been with the district?
This is my 9th year.
Really?
Yeah, so I signed my 10th contract in May.
So tell me about what you teach these students. What do they want to learn?
Well, it's all culinary. I'm pretty fortunate in that we focus just on culinary arts. And I have the luxury of having a year-long class. And we start with the basics and we go all the way through an entire 2-year curriculum almost in one full year. And we start with the basics, professionalism, knife skills, stocks, sauces, cooking methods. They get chef coats and they learn knife skills. And
wow. So
we
are
do it
those
all.
are those pretty standard across the industry when you talk about knife skills?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
you got to start somewhere. And, some programs pick up where other programs leave off and they have experienced students, that sort of thing. We take whether they have experience or not from the other FCS programs, whether they've had foods, nutrition, culinary, 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. We still take them all. Well, we do want them juniors and seniors. We've taken underclassmen before under
Really?
special circumstances. But we also have, ideally what we want are juniors. And we want them to have a little bit of culinary, but if not, they have culinary definitely when they leave. And then when they're a senior, they can go either into industry or they can turn the corner and do an internship, job shadow, post-secondary training or something like that.
So do you help line up those internships?
I do. I mainly help line up the students.
Sure.
I get them prepared and their counselors, homeschools, counselors, and that sort of thing, get them into programs that they need to be. And we've
Okay.
done that in the past, yeah. And I do work with Flathead Valley, Gallatin College and such.
Oh, okay. Well, that's so you reach outside of this region altogether.
We have to because there's no culinary instruction in this city. So we are directly connected to Gallatin College. Career Center is also, there's a bunch of programs there also. And then I'm also connected with Flathead Valley's Montana Culinary Institute
Oh, great.
in Kalispell.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you seem pretty enthusiastic about your profession.
I'm pretty lucky. I really, really enjoy cooking and I enjoy teaching. I had no idea I would like it this much. And I dropped into this position 9 years ago, and I've just loved it ever since.
Really?
And I've had superior support from all my administrators and
Good.
and that sort of thing. So it makes all the difference in the world knowing that the program that I'm building or teaching or whatever, I have complete support and that sort of thing. I know what they want. I know what they ask me to do, a curriculum and cooking and take it as far forward as I could. And I've been building this program for 9 years now, and it gets more interesting, more complete, more rigorous, more full every year.
Not a lot of people can say that about
Yeah.
what they do.
Right, yeah.
So
Yeah,
did
it's
your
true.
passion for culinary start young?
It did, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's dial it back.
Yeah, I'm one of 5. I'm the middle, and my mother was in the food service industry. My father was a smelterman and a mechanic. And so my brothers hung out in the garage with my dad,
Okay.
and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'd rather go hang out in the kitchen where it's warm and there's food.
Right.
And my mother was an outstanding cook. My grandfather owned a restaurant in Great Falls for over 20 years during the Depression. My other grandfather was a stellar cook as well. And so I come from a pretty good background of cooks.
Yeah.
So I hung out in the kitchen with my mom. In high school, I went and bussed tables at the Elks Club.
In Great Falls?
In Great Falls.
Okay.
And my mother was well, they called them waitresses back then. She was head waitress for 17 years.
Okay.
So my little sister went back to school. She went back to work and said, "You need a job? Follow me." And so me and my older brother went and started bussing tables, and he's like, "No, thanks." So he left.
Okay.
And so I ended up working there all through high school. Always had money in my pocket, always had something to do, always loved being around food and that sort of stuff. And I learned from my mother, who was a hospitality heart, genuine hospitality heart. Her customers loved her, and they told me if I made a mistake and that sort of thing. So I was waiting on my mom's friends, busting their tables and that sort of stuff. So I kind of
No
learned.
pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. And so everybody said, "Well, you work for your mom, you make more money than everybody else." I said, "Well, she pulls me around by my earlobe and makes sure I get stuff done right." But I learned, hospitality and food industry and, the restaurant business in general. So,
Right. Well, it seems to me back in the day, Elks Clubs had
yeah.
linen tablecloths, and they were a little more formal than
You
a
bet they
regular
did.
restaurant.
Absolutely, they were.
Okay.
It was membership. The public could come, and they had many, many events.
Right.
During the month of December, it was all hands on deck, and we would work 2-3 parties a night.
Jeez.
And my mother would be waiting tables in the dining room. There would be a big party in the big room, and then a small party off, and maybe guys playing cards in the other one. And
Yeah.
I'd have to circulate and bus and water and clear and strip tables all the way through it. So yeah, it
Working
was,
and cardio
yes, absolutely.
combined.
Yeah, it was
So-
amazing.
Okay, so you went from bussing
Yeah.
tables to what was the next step?
Well, then I I graduated high school and I went into the military. Why, I don't know.
Okay.
But that was a great experience. I went in with my best friend, and he ended up retiring in the military, and it was assistant fire chief also. But he had a military career, and I jumped ship after about 4 or 5 years, went to the West Coast and got into the bakery business. And so I was looking for work in the early 80s. And I bumped into an Italian gentleman who wanted to teach me how to bake. And so that's my original trade. And he told me that if I learned how to bake, I could be a stellar chef. I said, "Oh, okay, that sounds good." So I spent about 14 years in the bakery business in Portland, Oregon, as a journeyman style baker, and ended up in various jobs, ended up in culinary school after 9/11. I panicked. I was a waiter at a restaurant. When 9/11 hit, I went from lots of money to zero overnight.
Were you still on the West Coast?
I was. It was
Okay.
in Portland, yeah. And I worked at a restaurant by the Portland airport. And so I went to work for 10 days with no customers. And I was in my 40s.
Ooh, boy.
And I was like, what am I going to do? So I was talked into going to culinary school at the time, and boy, am I glad I did.
Well, I don't understand. Take me back to if you can be a good baker, you can be a good chef. I
Well,
don't get the connection.
Yeah, I didn't know realize the connection either. But bakers, they approach the industry a little bit different in that they don't really do recipes. They have formulas, and they weigh things, and they're more precise, they're more accurate, they have more patience and with their product and that sort of thing. So by the time they get into the kitchen, they are already familiar with weights and measures and processes and the cooking and the baking process overall. And not only that, bakers go in early, and prep cooks party at night and don't come in on time. So bakers naturally morph into the kitchen because those guys didn't come in that day. So I found myself baking and prep cooking and line cooking all in the same. And many chefs that I worked with told me that, you pick up both baking and back of the house, you could be management material someday, not to mention the front of the house, which was something I was familiar with at the Elks Club.
Sure.
So front of the house, back of the house, and baking, I pretty much jack of all trades, and loved all of it. So I've done just about everything in the restaurant business.
As you're talking about it, Chef, it occurs to me that it's more than food, it's a creation.
Absolutely. You bet it is.
What happens when your creation doesn't satisfy you or it fails? I've made one loaf of bread in my life. I'm happy to say it was successful. It was during the pandemic. Everyone was doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was
But
fun.
I'm never
yeah.
going to do it again.
No, don't give it up. Baking's fun. It's a great pastime. Well, there's a lot of trial and error, and I threw a lot of food in the garbage. Sure, of course.
Yeah.
But I was pretty determined. Pretty determined to make things work because I knew I could do it, and I liked doing it, and I saw my mother do it,
Right.
and I saw the effect it had on people. Everybody wanted to have dinner at my house. Everybody wanted to come over and stay over and have my mom's breakfast and that sort of thing. So I saw early on what it did. When my mom went back to work and we had to fend for ourselves, I just did in the kitchen what she did, and pretty soon my brothers and sisters were coming up. Hey, do you want to make me one of those? What'd you put on that burger?
No,
That
go
was
back to
pretty
the
good."
garage.
Yeah, exactly. Fix my car and we'll
Yeah,
talk. That's probably how it all started. I'm sure.
probably
The barter
was,
system.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of determination. And at one point, I called my mom in tears when I was in Oregon. And I said, I can't eat this food. I need cookbooks. I need you to help me cook. So she started mailing me cookbooks.
Oh.
And so she mailed me 3 or 4 James Beards, Craig Claiborne, Bernard Clayton Jr.'s Book of Breads and Pastries. I still have all those books stacked up, and I still refer to them quite a bit. And I kind of taught myself, really. By the time I got to culinary school and that sort of thing, I pretty much had the basic mistakes out
Right.
of my system.
Okay, yeah.
But there's still a lot of room for error. So
Well, when you were with the Italian baker,
Yeah.
did you have a favorite pastry or bread that you made?
yes, I did actually. Nobody ever really asked me that, but I can't. I liked laminating dough, and that's Danish pastry, puff pastry, croissant, that sort of thing. And it's
Laminating dough.
correct, and that is taking a dough and laminating fat and fold roll and fold roll, so you have layers, and that's what makes croissants flaky, puff pastry puff,
Oh.
and croissants nice and flaky. And so I really enjoyed laminating, and I was taught by the Italian gentleman how to laminate because we made our own Danish pastry dough. And so he left, and another baker came, and we went to the next level doing croissants and that sort of thing. And my last name is Jensen, and my father's Scandinavian. And that baker was from Copenhagen, Denmark, where my great-grandfather was from. I didn't put any of this together until he came downstairs one day. He said, I didn't know your last name was Jensen. I said, yeah. And he said, your name is like Smith in Denmark. I go, well, no wonder I like laminating then. And so we took it to the next level, and he was an instructor as well. So we took cake and pastry from him at Lewis and Clark College in Vancouver, Washington. And he took us to the next level. And so laminating was something I could do, I was good at.
Yeah.
And I could do it from scratch, I could do it by hand.
Wow.
And I did it at those restaurants while working.
Did you do cakes?
Absolutely, yeah. Cakes,
Did
pies,
you have to
pastries.
learn to be an icer?
That part was a little more difficult, but yes, I
I mean, that's an art in itself.
decorating. I can't do a wedding cake, but I can sure make a good buttercream,
Okay.
and I can make great cakes. Yeah, but artistry, I might have to work on those.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a specialty.
So on the other side, the food side of things, do you have a favorite dish that you prepare?
Yeah, well, I like it all really, and I go in phases. And so, I've gone through many different phases. Like a couple years ago, I had a health situation where I was all Mediterranean diet and that sort of thing, which I totally love because I'm Greek. And my other grandfather was born on the island of Crete. And so the Mediterranean diet, kind of modeled after that and other areas there as well. So Mediterranean food is really kind of close to home. And my grandfather, who lived with us,
And now, is that primarily fish and
well,
greens?
it's plant-based. Instead of 3 to 5 fruits and vegetables a day, it's 9 to 11. Instead of a big steak dinner, it's red meat maybe twice a month,
Right.
in small portions. Plant-based proteins, fish, secondary, nuts, legumes, fish, poultry, lamb, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Eggs, cheeses, sheep smoked cheeses, healthy fats, olive oil, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Lots of spinach,
All
lots
right.
of greens.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you. You went back to the
Yeah.
Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, so the Mediterranean diet was really near and dear to my heart, and I still do that mainly. But teaching all of the realm of culinary, I have a hard time finding a favorite.
Really?
Southern food, for some reason, is just a blast to teach and so much fun. But then again, so is Asian food, so is Hispanic and Tex-Mex. Students love Tex-Mex. It's a huge part of our cuisine. So as I cycle through all of these, that's what ends up on our dinner table usually. Something that I'm teaching, something I'm familiar with, or something that I want to work on, that sort of thing.
So now in the classroom, which is here in the Lincoln Center,
Yes.
students come in. They spend, is it a 3-hour class?
Right, a 3-period.
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so it's about 2 and some change.
And
2 hours
so
45
during that time,
Yeah.
is that enough time to prepare an entire fill in the blank?
It is. It
Okay.
really is. A lot of these FCS programs are 1 period, and so their time is a little bit limited what they
Yeah.
can do. So they link curriculum and material by the day. And so I have the luxury of being able to take it a couple of steps further. And then I have a PM block which can come in and pick up that project and take it again further.
Oh.
For example, if we're doing baked goods like we did this week, the AM class can start formulas, recipes, fillings, toppings, that sort of thing. Let it rest, lunch, then PM block will come in and they will punch the dough down, get it rising, bake it off, make more dough, put it in the fridge. AM will come in the next day, and so on. So our
see.
projects can leapfrog on each other, and we are able to do buffets and take-home meal kits and sack lunches and that sort of stuff. And once we get a full-size kitchen, we're going to be able to be pretty much project heavy. We can take on bigger projects and that sort of thing.
Well, I know people
in just a few days.
in the Lincoln Center are very happy when you have bake sales.
Yes.
And what else do you do here just in the Lincoln Center?
Well, we
Like
have
for the general public. That's what I mean.
We're really fortunate to be here for a couple different reasons. The first one is that we're able to sell here. At our other situation at City College, the Sodexo had a contract, so no one else could sell. So we couldn't sell in that building, but we could take it across the parking lot and sell to our teachers. Then COVID hit, so we had a sack lunch, no contact, grab and go, electronic pay situation. And that was kind of arduous, but it worked. But when we got here, game on. Everybody's like, are you going to sell your stuff? And I'm like, please, can I sell it to you? And so we immediately opened our door and pulled tables out in the hallway and offered buffets. And ironically, last year I put in for mobile catering equipment, thinking I was going to do mobile catering units at the Career Center and City College, but we got moved here because of a flood. And now we're able to have steam table, buffet, hot plates, and lunches. So we've had several buffets. We've had a couple of grab and goes and whatnot, and about 3 or 4 bake sales, and we have an espresso machine. So I have a barista unit that we work on just about every day. So we're kind of lucky that we have an audience, a paying audience,
Right.
and we sell things a little bit less. We don't need to make money, but we like to offset curriculum costs and that sort of thing.
Sure. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if it's something I want to be self-sufficient. Maybe I'll talk to my administrators. We can certainly up the price and be self-sufficient, but I don't think we're there yet, or if we need to be there yet. But what we do is we stretch our budget out all the way through the year. We don't run out of money, And I have
Because you have to buy food,
correct.
and that's expensive.
Yes, it is.
Whoa.
Especially nowadays.
Now.
And so, prices have gone up and on just about everything.
Yeah.
But, we're able to offset the cost and keep bringing in raw materials, commodities, and get these products in students' hands so they can make stuff. We don't need to cook on paper or talk about stuff or show movies or anything like that.
Right.
We roll our sleeves up and just get busy. And that's really an advantage.
Tell me about the students who graduate
Yeah.
from your program. Do they go into food service?
Some of them, not all of them.
Okay.
And I'm surprised at some of them that will come back a year or two later and say, Chef, I just finished this culinary program. I said, I had no idea.
Wow.
They made a decision later, whatever. A couple of them I know got hired in area restaurants, and they're still there, and I go see them all the time.
In kitchens or front of the house?
Both,
Okay.
yeah. Like we're partnered with the Northern. There's a few students there. There's a few students in other places around the town and that sort of thing. And they circulate.
Well, that's great because I know
grocery stores.
restaurants are
Yeah.
hurting for staff.
Restaurants close because of
know.
labor. It's
Yeah.
getting a little better. COVID did the restaurant industry no favors whatsoever.
I know.
Everybody had to reinvent themselves. We had to reinvent our own class. So instead of having a bake sale, we had to have an online presence, just like everybody else. So instead of having a storefront or a bake sale or whatever, we had to have an online presence just like everybody else. The restaurant business was the same way, and staff got let go. Many places closed and that sort of thing. So culinary instruction really kind of is where it starts in partnership with industry, our stakeholders and that sort of thing. We can offer an energy with those types of organizations where we can have students go to those places, and those places can help me with curriculum. What do you want me to teach your employees, your future employees, for
Yeah.
example? Baking, back of the house, garmager, or pastry, or front of the house, or service, or whatever, and that sort of thing. So they do end up in those places, and I do keep track of them as much as I can.
Good.
I've got a couple of them that have gone in and out of culinary school. One student in particular came to me and had troubles measuring, cutting an onion, that sort of thing. Got in a car wreck, came to my class in a wheelchair.
Oh, dear.
And they said, Chef, can she come in the wheelchair? And I said, sure. Was she in the way? I said, no, not at all. So that showed me that student was dedicated and had the passion. So I had to up my game so I could get these students ready. So if students have an interest in post-secondary, a job or whatever, I can't just deliver curriculum anymore. I got to take this student and I got to get them ready. So I had an independent study program at the time. This student came back and got into the independent study program. Unbeknownst to me, applied to a culinary school and got accepted. And I'm like, I got to get this person ready because I know what they're going to go up against. So we spent a whole semester cooking, menu planning, prepping, taking photos, setting a table, and did it all semester long. Had a little audience of one or two. One of them was a vegetarian. So the pictures that the student compiled and the experience that was gained transferred over to the culinary school, graduated a high B, 3.8 or something, and is now working in the industry in the same city as the school.
Oh, wow.
And has 2 culinary jobs. One of them is at a restaurant that just got nominated for a James Beard Award.
Oh, my.
And so
You must feel kind of proud about that.
I thought to myself, this is how this is supposed to work.
Exactly.
This is what my program is for. Not every student aspires to have that type of career path,
Right.
educational path, that sort of thing. They all don't aspire to do that. But there's a lot of transferable skills in life, in education, post-secondary, whatever. But that's what my program is for. So as I look back on the mentality that I had to have to get this student ready, not only to go through 1 year, but another year, and then prepare for the next level, and then to keep in tabs with them to see them go down the road.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think that says a lot about everyone and everything involved.
Yeah.
Myself, my administrators, the facility, this school district. That's really how this is supposed to work.
Well, we only have a couple minutes left, Chef, but I was wondering if a student or a parent of a student is watching this, is there something they should do if they want to get into your program?
Yes. It's really an advantage if they take some of these FCS courses.
FCS?
Family Consumer Science.
Okay.
Home ec. Used to be called home ec.
I remember.
It's Family Consumer Science. And so these programs are great starters. And they are great career paths too. They start with the basics, nutrition, culinary 1, culinary 2, among other curriculum. Our program kind of favors those students,
Right.
but we will take anybody.
Sure.
I've had students walk in to my classroom with no prior, but they're sous chefs at other restaurants, and they've worked in the industry for 1-2 years, and they're absolutely pros. So anybody who aspires to go to the next level, to learn the industry, the language, the skills that it needs to be able to hold your own, to be able to wield a knife, cook for yourself, know what to do at raw commodities, keep yourself out of the drive-through, know what to look for at a grocery store, and how to shop and cook and feed yourself, your family, and have a career on top of all that. Go to your counselors and point to the Cafe Protege 1, maybe 2-year program.
Okay.
When we get a bigger, better kitchen situation,
You can expand.
this whole process is going to expand.
Yeah.
We'll be able to take more students. We'll be able to add more curriculum stuff. We have a lot of curriculum stuff anyway. And we could take more students, and we could partner with more places downtown, which is a great place to be.
Sure.
And it's just going to swell and get more fun.
Well,
if that's even possible.
It will be possible. I want to thank you for being
Thank you
here.
very much.
I
Really
learned a lot
appreciate it.
today.
Thank you so
Chef
much.
Bill, thanks for being here. And thank you for joining us.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next time on Your Schools.